Welcome back on the Sports Cage. Barney Shinkra, Chris Mazurek, and double C's on the other side of the board. Let's bring him in here. Western Pizza guest hotline. My bad. I screwed up the times again with him. Farhan Lalji.
So what time is it? What time is it there? Because you guys don't change, right? And daylight savings is coming.
It's 3:49 right now. Now, some of us, Farhan, have a handle on changing time and not changing time.
We will not conform in Saskatchewan. We're staying. But so then it'll be all screwy next week, Farhan, so be on your toes, please.
All right. I'm here for you, buddy.
Riders going with Armstead and AJ Ouellette in the backfield. How they use them, no one knows, right? But that's a nice little wrinkle to throw at the BC Lions 24-ish hours before the game.
Yeah, a little thunder and lightning for sure. And, you know, when you look at the last time the Lions faced Armstead was here in BC during Touchdown Pacific. He had a quiet day, but BC got out in front offensively, and, you know, it really kind of took the running game out of it, right? So that's kind of where this game has to lie, right? As long as it stays close and they can use both and have that 1-2 punch, I think it can be a real problem for the Lions. If BC winds up being able to get some things done offensively and can kind of mitigate the impact of the running game, that might be the only chance they have. Because if if Saskatchewan's got a second half lead, oh boy, this one's Sask can just keep running all the way to Winnipeg for the following week.
We haven't seen a lot of great football out of BC in a while, and that's just stating the obvious. But Vernon Adams Jr.'s back. Hatcher, Hollins, and McInnes all seem to play better when VA was under center. I don't think Keon Hatcher hasn't played his best football yet this season, has he?
No, he hasn't, and quite frankly, I don't think he will until next year, right? When you come back from an Achilles, you can come back and be strong enough in that muscle or ligament to continue to play football. But in terms of having your top-end speed, you know, you can see it in certain moments this season, even when he's caught a big play, that he's protected it even after the catch. So they are better with Vernon, right, just because they've got some juice around him. And, you know, I think they all kind of felt that he got a bit of a raw deal, so they played their best. And look, they didn't play very good football against Montreal, and I don't buy the narrative that Montreal wasn't trying. I think they were. They might have, you know, sat like one or two guys in that game, but it wasn't a wholesale like what Saskatchewan did a week ago. And they didn't play vanilla defense, right? They brought a lot of pressure. They played the way they like to play, and BC did well. But guess what? I don't think Sask is going to bring all that pressure. I think they're going to try to keep everything in front of them, try to force Vernon Adams to get impatient, right? And maybe generate some turnovers that way, right? And if that happens, that's where BC has struggled. And I think that's what you're going to get from Corey Mason, that Rider defense.
Wow, that would be interesting. So basically let him have a little more time and just play more coverage.
Well, like, here's the thing. The Lions' offensive line isn't great. And when teams have taken that approach of we're just going to rush 3 and we're going to rush 4, they generally find a way to get home. But when teams blitz and bring 6, Vernon generally can find the matchup. And even Nathan Rourke, right, when they faced Montreal the previous game, and, you know, and when Ottawa tried to do that in Touchdown Pacific, like, if you want to pressure BC, that's where BC wants to live, right? That's where both quarterbacks and the offensive coordinator want to live. It's when you play coverage, they're not living in that world. They're not comfortable there.
Huh. That's interesting. What teams, and I know the Riders didn't play them well, obviously, early in the year. What teams in the CFL have had success against VA? Because that would be the book, right? That'd be the tape you'd want to watch.
Yeah, well, it's the 2 games before he got injured, Calgary and Winnipeg. And it's, you know, it's not fair to just say have had success against VA. It's have success against VA and Jordan McSimic, right? Because it's also on the coordinator to adjust and put the quarterbacks in the right opportunity to take advantage of what every defense gives you something, right? And so, you know, I chafe at that. Well, VA struggled in these games because Calgary and Winnipeg played off coverage. Well, Winnipeg always plays off coverage. That's what they do. You know, and Calgary generally does that as well, unless they're really struggling and they're getting desperate. So you've got to find ways to take advantage of that. So, you know, those 2 teams had success against them, but it's to me, it's also success against the coordinator. Jordan McSimic has got to show me that he's willing to screen, sweep, run crossers, and play small ball and make those adjustments.
All right, you mentioned Calgary, and we'll get off the game for just a sec. The big news this week, Dave Dickinson staying coach and GM, and then they fire 3 coaches. That I did not expect. Did that shock you, or did you know there was going to be multiple people walking the plank for the 2 bad seasons they've had?
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't think they're done yet. And I say that because they couldn't come back status quo. Like, they just couldn't. You couldn't run the entire band back if you want to restore any level of consumer confidence and gain the room back, right? Because there have been some cultural issues in that room where guys just, haven't necessarily bought in ways they needed to buy in. I'm not saying they're not trying or that they're giving up, but you can just tell it's different, and there's a level of staleness to what was being offered before. So in order for Dave Dickinson to come back as coach and GM, Dave Dickinson was going to have to make some significant changes to his coaching staff and in his personnel department, and I think that process is only just beginning.
The Killam one is what shocks me. He was the head coach in waiting. Like, he's put in his time. He's one of the best in the league. Like, to me, special teams wasn't the problem. And the defensive coordinator, but nobody from offense. Nobody. Yeah. It was all 3 defensive guys.
Okay.
If it's
So, I think in the last couple of years, Dave has tried to move away from play calling. He tried that with Mark Mueller, and then eventually he got back in. Pat Delmonico has been the offensive coordinator in title, but he's never really been the full-time play caller. Yeah, he got to call plays the last couple of games of this season, but generally that hasn't been his role. So I think they'll bring some people back, but there still may be a bit of shuffling in terms of roles. And I think if Dave can get the right person there, he'll probably step away from the play calling. And like I said, I think there'll be some changes in the personnel side. But one thing is clear, that roster was not good enough, and that's where it has to start, regardless of who's calling the plays in all 3 phases. And as far as Mark Killam is concerned, this guy is so well regarded. Like, I fully expect to see any team this offseason that's looking for a special teams coordinator to make Mark Killam their first call. And I think he will either be I think he could be the head coach at U of A, right? Which is a really, really good job. He could potentially be the special teams coordinator in Edmonton, right? If they make coaching changes there or what have you. So, and he's an Edmonton guy. So Mark Killam is going to fall forward.
That's what we were talking about. He's just going to U-haul it up to Edmonton yesterday. Okay, so we got 30 seconds. Predictions. CFL. Who's advancing this weekend?
I think Saskatchewan's going to find a way to win. They're going to get out in front early, and we'll put BC in a bad position. I love the way Trevor Harris is playing. I know people want to talk about Saskatchewan's defense and their ability to generate turnovers. I love the way Trevor Harris is playing right now, and that's the focus for me. Not the 2-headed monster in the backfield. It's Trevor Harris. And then you've got, on the other side, I think Ottawa's been struggling so badly. I know they found a way the past game, but I just think that when you look at their recent form, much like the Lions, it's hard not to pick Toronto in that game to advance to Montreal to the Eastern Final.
All right. I'm going to make sure my phone updates the time next week.
I think an engineer at Apple has already looked after that.
At least in my entry. At
Yeah.
least in my entry. Please make sure you get that figured out.
Okay. Have a good weekend, Farhan.
All right. Hey, listen, and are we seeing you guys in Vancouver for the Grey Cup?
Listen, we don't count the chickens before they hatch around here, Farhan. We don't want to be like...
All right. But I'm saying if the Riders make it, are we doing the show in person?
That is a really good question. Golf courses are open there. That's the thing that I love about. My buddy plays at Pitt Meadows.
Dude, you're a sales guy too. You're a sales guy too. Come on.
Okay.
Call Craig Reynolds and tell him to take the cobwebs off his wallet and to get you guys out here.
He's coming in here.
It's actually he's sitting in the lobby right now. He's coming on the show in a few minutes.
Rewind the tape. And
oh man,
to Craig.
Turn 4.
I love it. Have a good weekend, Farhan.
See you guys.